Imagine a soldier in World War One, and there's a fog rolling towards him carried by the wind that kills even the plants as it's coming. This fog is gas, and gas was used by all sides during the war. And I'm rather interested in World War One and Two. I wrote in quite a few papers on the subject or subjects, and I want you to just understand just one of the many hardships that soldiers had to face in these trying times. I'm going to explain how gas was used, its effects on the men, and the available countermeasures against it. The strategic use of gas. It's one of the main purposes of its creation is to combat trench warfare. Almost most forms of toxic gas were heavier than air, which allowed them to sink into the trenches, which is the main defensive tool again in trench warfare. And gas was released from canisters and artillery. Canisters were reliant on wind and temperature to make the gas go where you needed it to go. But according to a peer-reviewed article by Jonathan Krauss, the French developed and were the ones who made special artillery shells that allowed gas to be deployed with little regard to wind. Gas was designed to wound, not kill. According to a peer-reviewed article by Jones Edgar, of 750,000 British casualties, a quarter of these were from gas, and 1% of those gas casualties were lethal, so they were deaths. That's what this graph represents. And the gas deaths are so minuscule in comparison to the other casualties that it's almost not even visible on this graph. And the reason they were supposed to be less than lethal was because wounded soldiers cost more resources than dead ones. Intent to harm but not kill doesn't mean that gas is any less humane. The harmful effects of gas on the men. The direct effects is mainly caused by the two main types of gas that was used in World War One, which are blister agents and choking agents. What they do, you can figure or devise what they do based on their names. Blister agents cause blisters on contact, and if inhaled, can cause irreparable lung damage. Choking agents cause fluid buildup in the lungs, which leads to choking. And the blister agents can also lead to blindness, or temporary blindness at the very least, which is what these men are affected by in this photo. They would walk in columns with their hands on the shoulders of the man in front of them, so that when led by, and in the very front would be someone who could still see, so that they could get around. The other main side effect of gas use, which is less direct, would be the intense damage to morale that was caused by it. According to a peer-reviewed article by Thompson Peter, the constant vigilance and drills that they had to undergo to be prepared against gas caused extreme stress in the already extremely stressful wartime conditions. Blindness, as this photo shows, and possible permanent lung damage caused gas fright, which was similar to shell shock. Possible faulty equipment or lack of speed and preparedness ground willpower down, and seeing columns of your men in such as this also greatly affected morale. The fear of gas led to quick development of protective equipment and medical procedures. Measures against gas. The equipment. The main protective equipment that a soldier would have against gas is the gas mask. The gas mask is a mask that covers the face, usually no more than that, with a filter, which is out of frame. But it's a special filter that is designed, depending on the filter, just or filters out a specific type of gas. The filters had to constantly be adapted to in order to be able to keep up with the constantly changing combinations of gas that each side employed. According to the National Center for Biotechnology article by Gerald Fitzgerald, uh, the medical treatments for gas were rather simple depending on the exposure. Choking agents required bed rest and oxygen, and that's about all they could really do. Blister agents, the soldier had to immediately rinse out his eyes as soon as possible in order to mitigate the effects of the eye damage. And he had to get soap, water, and possibly oil or some kind of gasoline to make sure all of the gas was out of his skin. In conclusion, I hope I have been able to explain gas use, its effects, and defensive measures in order to help you be more aware of just one of the several hardships that soldiers faced. After all I've said, I hope you can better understand how a soldier felt as he watched that fog roll towards him.